what our real goal is and where we're really coming from, we want to figure out how we can bring our gifts, our resources to the table for the purpose of helping our partner further the relationship that they already have with their people, that they already have with their customers and with their prospects. And
if you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Conner.
Welcome to another amazing episode of Raising Private Money. I'm Jay Conner, your host, also known as the Private Money Authority. And this is the show where we talk about how to raise private money for your real estate deals without ever asking for money. Well, I've got a dear friend and a really, really special guest in the green room waiting to come out right now in just a moment. And he has helped his entrepreneur friends raise private money by connecting them and getting them introduced to the right people. Well, notice I just used a word. I said connecting. Let me tell you something. This guy, I'm just going to rebrand him as the connector. I don't know anybody else that knows how to connect people and do joint ventures and that type of thing than my guest today. Listen, he has sold $16.1 million of his own products and services, and he did it solely by using strategic partnerships. So let me tell you, my guest today really, really understands the value of the right relationships. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about relationship capital, how to start relationships, how to nurture relationships, and how to turn that into revenue. Well, I was a guest on his podcast. He's one of the best interviewers I've ever been with. The name of his podcast is the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And it really is the most rewarding thing he's done in his 29 years of entrepreneurship, because what it's done, it has exponentially expanded his ability to serve. Yes, my friend and guest leads with a servant's heart. So he facilitates these strategic partnerships, and he's going to show you how you can as well. And it's impacted millions of people that has led on to creating millions of dollars in revenue. Stick around, because in just a moment, you're going to meet my guest, Kevin Thompson, right after this. Kevin Thompson, welcome to the show.
well, hello, Jay. Great to see you again, my friend.
It is great to see you too. I enjoyed being on your podcast, $1 Million Relationships Podcast, not too long ago. And I said, private money may not be specifically Kevin's expertise, but I tell you one thing he is an expert at, and that is developing relationships, developing strategic partnerships. And after all, what is private money all about? Private money is all about relationship capital. Private money is all about establishing relationships and nurturing relationships with our private lenders. So what I love about your expertise, Kevin, is that your umbrella and your expertise of relationship and how that turns into revenue fits right into this podcast perfectly.
I love it. I love it. Well, I am looking forward to this conversation today, Jay, and we're going to have a great time and be of service to some folks.
I love it. I love it. So before we dive in, you can answer this question, Kevin, as short or as long as you would like. And here's the question.
Okay.
Tell me and the audience, and pretend you and I have just met for the first time, who is Kevin Thompson?
Well, first and foremost, I am a husband and a father to 7 amazing kids, and grandfather to 6 grandchildren currently. And beyond that, I am a guy who I just get to facilitate amazing relationships for entrepreneurs who are making such a big impact in the world and just help them make a far bigger impact using their businesses.
Well, now, you told me, and I mentioned it in the introduction, that your podcast, Million Dollar Relationships podcast, is one of the most, or is the most rewarding thing you've done in, you might as well say, 30 years as an entrepreneur. Why is that?
I will tell you, well, for starters, there's a lot of reasons. But for starters, that podcast, Jay, you and I met because of that podcast. We got connected because of that podcast. And the Million Dollar Relationships podcast, and I'm with you, Jay, I'm speaking to the choir because I imagine that your experience has been very similar. It puts me in touch with such amazing entrepreneurs that are in alignment on interests and values, meaning that these entrepreneurs that I get to interview, entrepreneurs like yourself, you also place a very high value on relationships. Because if you didn't, you would not be coming to be a guest on my podcast.
So true.
I mean, here's a great example. I About a month and a half ago, I got connected with this guy, Jim Sonfield. I didn't know in advance who Jim was, but this other guy, Jeremiah, who had been a host or guest on the podcast, was like, Kevin, my buddy Jim would love to be on your podcast. Can I introduce you guys? And I was like, anybody that you're talking about like that, Jeremiah, I would love to meet. And he's like, all right, I'm going to get you connected with my buddy Jim. And come to find out, Jim Sonfield is drummer for a band called Hootie and the Blowfish. And
not very well known, of course.
I know, right? And like sometimes I just got to pinch myself because I'm like, wow, look at the amazing entrepreneurs that I get to connect with, and I get to find out about them and what they're doing and what they've got going on in their world that they're just totally jazzed about, and figure out, well, is there a way that I might be able to help them by bringing my God-given gifts and abilities to the table? And many times there is ways that I can help them.
I love it. I love it. Well, speaking of serving people, and I just, when I first met you, I just sensed it. I mean, you have got a servant's heart. You lead with service. I mean, that's the filter that, that you approach life. Well, you said you've helped some of these, so you may not tell this, but I'm going to tell it. Okay. I know that you have been a part of over 400 strategic partnerships that have happened and come together. So here's the question, like, for example, myself, I got 47 private lenders. That's relationship capital, right?
Yep.
But you've been a part of over 400. How do you attract so many partners, for goodness sakes?
We treat the golden rule, Jay. We treat others like we would want to be treated. And I can tell you, those partners, I am so grateful and so appreciative of them, because my business would not have grown at the rate that it did without all of those partners. And so, they weren't just people who sent business my way. They were friends, and you treat friends really well because you just appreciate them. And so for me, when doing a strategic partnership, excuse me, what gets people talking about us is not, making revenue together. That's really cool and stuff. But what gets people really talking about us is the experience that they have in whatever we do together. That's what gets people talking about us. And so I just intentionally set out to, regardless of how much revenue we do together in this partnership, I'm going to give my partners an amazing experience. I'm going to give them something to talk about, and we can go get into more detail about that if you want. But I just I want to follow your lead, Jay. So
sure. Well, now look, anything that comes to your mind, Kevin, that you think is of value to the audience, then say it and don't worry about it. So,
okay.
first of all, I guess we should define what do strategic partnerships look like. I mean, you and I have been in this world for a long time,
Yeah.
but we got a lot of folks. We got thousands of people listening to this show, and I'm sure there is a good percentage of them that don't even know what a strategic partnership is.
Sure.
So let's undress that first.
Okay. Okay. So simple, easy definition of a strategic partnership is two people coming together to be able to accomplish far more together than either one of them could do on their own. So that is the simplest definition of a strategic partnership. And a lot of entrepreneurs, they approach strategic partnerships wrong. They come from the mindset of, they think, okay, I need to find other people to promote my thing to their sphere of influence, to their people, to their customers, to what have you. And that's not what we're looking for at all. And in fact, I mean, Jay, you probably had people reach out to you. I know I've certainly had it happen where people reach out to me and go, Kev, you know what, man, if you promote my thing to your people, I will share a percentage of the revenue with you, and we're just going to make all kinds of money together. And I will tell you, that is a message that falls on deaf ears, because when I can tell you, with all my partners, the money is not their most valuable thing. That is not the thing that they care about most. What they care about most is the relationship they have with the people that their business serves. And they don't give a dang how much money they could make. They're never going to put us in front of their people if they think for 1 second that we would somehow damage the relationship that they have already created with all those people. No amount of money is worth that risk. And so what our real goal is, and you're going to love this because it's so much easier. So what our real goal is, and where we're really coming from, we want to figure out how we can bring our gifts, our resources to the table for the purpose of helping our partner further the relationship that they already have with their people, that they already have with their customers and with their prospects. And this isn't on us to figure out. We just start the conversation, and what this becomes is a co-creative and a collaborative conversation of how can the two of us together accomplish that. And we can talk about our gifts and our abilities and our resources and what we bring to the table, but then our partner, they also get to talk about their clients and what they know to be true about their clients and how they might see that we might be able to be of service to their people and stuff. And like I said, it becomes a co-creative and a collaborative conversation that together we get to figure this out. And I'll tell you what, when we've done it together this way, we both own that. And because we both own that, now we're excited to move forward with that partnership.
I love that, Kevin, because what you just explained was a very specific example of how you are leading with a servant's heart. You, in that example, you're leading the conversation, talking about their interest and how you can serve them and how you can make them better at what they're already doing and how they can tighten up and secure the relationships that they already have in place, instead of, like most other people, showing up saying, me, 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 me.
Yeah.
You know, you're starting out with them on you. Now, you've done hundreds of strategic partnerships between you and another person, but now have you also gotten involved in helping other people or helping other partnerships happen between like two other people?
Absolutely. I love facilitating those kinds of partnerships. And you know, what I look for is I'm looking for entrepreneurs who are already making a substantial impact in their business through their business.
Mm-hmm.
That they too are in a line with my values,
Mm-hmm.
and because if we're not aligned on interests and values, it doesn't matter how much we like each other or might like that person. If we're not aligned on those areas, it's a partnership is not going to work. And we're just
Yes.
asking for trouble. And that's when, I mean, partnerships are doomed from the get go.
Yes.
But if
Yeah.
we're aligned on interests and values, that's our
Yes.
starting point.
As you were saying that, I was thinking of a particular individual that reached out to me a couple of months ago, wanting to do a joint venture business to where I would promote his products and services, and he would do the same for me.
Mhm.
And I wasn't familiar with him, but I did a little checking around, and he's pretty well known. But I had that gut feeling, Kevin, that
Mhm.
this was not going to be a match.
Mhm.
I don't know if I picked up on some arrogance or what it was I was picking up on, but I just didn't feel good about it. And so one of my marketing strategists that's on my team, I shared the name with him and I said, I'm just not feeling good. He said, Jay, you should not feel good. In fact, you should run the other way.
Go out and close the door. Go out
Yes.
and close the door right now.
And so, as I was, sharing that or that story, I think the takeaway lesson from that is listen to your heart and listen to your
Yeah,
gut feel.
yeah,
Even, I mean, when you're looking to do business with somebody, if you're not feeling good about it in your gut, you should listen to that.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And Jay, I can so relate to that. I had an experience years ago, and we were at an event, and my wife was with me, and I met this guy, and later on we ended up getting into that kind of a conversation, and my wife shared with me that she's like, honey, I just don't feel right about this. I don't know what it is, but I just don't. Something's wrong, and I was like, oh, honey, it'll be okay. It'll be
Mm,
okay. And
mm.
and so I moved forward with that, and it lasted about 6 months, and I had to go back to my wife, and I'm like, honey, you were absolutely right. And ever I have never made that mistake twice with my wife.
Listen, the takeaway lesson from that right there is whatever your wife tells you, you better listen when it comes to whether
Yeah.
you want to, yeah. So I'm thinking about leading with a servant's heart. And so I just want to share this, and I'm not patting myself on the back. It's just what I do and what I enjoy doing. So my wife, Carol Joy, and we are in two pretty large mastermind groups.
Okay.
And I love being a part of mastermind groups because it, like the podcast, it gives an opportunity to serve. And one thing I like to do, Kevin, and you're the same way, I'm sure. One thing I like to do is when I meet somebody new, I'm asking myself, okay, how can I serve this person? So I want them to tell me about themselves and
Mhm.
what they do and their background and all this stuff. And if I can think of someone that I think would be of value to introduce them and be a connector, then that's what I do. And I do it with no strings attached
Mhm.
whatsoever. There's no strings attached. But what's amazing, and I don't do it for this reason, but what's amazing is because of the law of reciprocity and what goes around comes around, it comes back to me every time, maybe not directly from that person, maybe indirectly, tenfold every time, Kevin. And I know you can relate to that too.
Yeah. Amen. Absolutely. Yeah. We just show up like you've been talking about with a servant's heart, and just set the intention that we're going to be of service and be of value to others, and we do that without the expectation of anything in return. But like you said, we get to be, when we give that way, we get to be on the receiving end too and stuff.
Well, as a
And
matter of fact, when you and I met the first time, I remember I don't know if it was in the initial meeting the first time we met or not. I was on your show, and either you reached out to me or it was at the end of the conversation. You asked me, you told me about someone that you know that you've got a relationship with, and you said, would that be helpful if I get you all introduced? So there you were
Yeah.
practicing what you preach, because, I heard Matt Andrews say it. He runs one of the masterminds that I'm in, and he says it all the time. It's not about reaping. It's all about sowing.
Yes.
It's not about reaping. It's all about sowing. So, well, share with me in the audience your biggest or one of your biggest partnerships that you've facilitated.
Well, they're getting bigger these days. I connected these two guys. That one guy had a growing business, and the other guy was a systems guy, and he's been a systems guy for years. I mean, gosh, I met him in 2007, so almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago, he was doing what he does now, and he's gotten really good at it over the years. And once I connected those two guys, Dan helped Sachin fine tune some of his marketing systems. And as a result of the work that they did together, they added $1.2 million of new revenue in just 4 months.
Wow.
And I am incredibly proud of those two guys. I'm just totally stoked, because it's not just the work that they did together. There's many other lives being impacted through the work that those two guys are now doing together and stuff, and the friendship that they've created. And like I said, with the right people, it is so easy to facilitate those kinds of connections. I mean, when they too both have servants' hearts, and they're just all about using their businesses to make their biggest impact in the world. And I couldn't be happier for those guys, and I'm totally stoked to see what continues to happen for those guys in the future.
That is wonderful. So I'm sure we've got folks listening here to the podcast, and they're asking themselves, well, I don't know if strategic partnerships would work in my business and what I do. So how does someone know if they're ready to, say, benefit from, getting involved in strategic partnerships? How do they go about getting that answer?
So, you just start having conversations with people, and do it from the standpoint of, I want to have conversations with people and just find out how I can be of service to them. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to partner with them. You're just going to find out, how can I be of service to them? And I'll tell you, the way that we start these conversations, the way that I start these conversations, well, now it happens all the time as a result of the podcast. But even prior to that, and still, I will reach out to people cold. I mean, social media is such a beautiful thing. I will see people make a post or maybe share an audio or a video on social media. And if it really resonates with me, I will comment on that. I'll either comment or maybe shoot them a message and just let them know, hey, I really appreciate what you shared there, and I just wanted to share that with you. And I hope and the thing is, what I've discovered over the years, Jay, is that no matter how successful somebody is, no matter how big of a business they run, no matter how great things look from the outside looking in, there is not a person on the face of this earth that gets too much appreciation.
Amen.
And when we are just genuinely appreciative of other people, so often that leads to, like, hey, man, Kev, thanks so much for that. You know what, man, I'd love to talk and get to know you a little bit more. Can we make time to do that? Sure, we can do that. And so now I go into that conversation just being of service. And one of the questions that I love asking people, because it gets them talking very quickly, is, what are you working on right now that has you the most jazzed and excited? They're going to start talking with us, Jay.
Right.
And like I said, we're just looking to have a conversation, get information from them, get insight from them, which means we ask questions. We're not talking about us. We are asking questions of them. Once we start that initial question and they start sharing with us, uh, we we're listening. We're actively engaged in listening to them and not waiting for our turn to talk about us. We
Mm.
are actively engaged and we are asking more questions, more clarifying questions around what they share with us. And what happens is we give them this gift that they so seldom get to receive, which is the gift of feeling seen, heard, and understood. And that's how we can kind of just start reaching out and having conversations with people. And now we go back to what we talked about before, that exploratory conversation of like, well, maybe there's some stuff we might be able to do together. And what might that look like? And just exploring it.
Right. Well, what you just shared is Dale Carnegie's fourth rule of human relations, and that is show honest and sincere appreciation. What you're so good at, Kevin, among many things, is you're so good at tuning into the other person's favorite radio station,
Yeah.
which of
Yeah.
course is WIIFM. What's in it for me?
Mhm.
And you show them that appreciation and you show that interest. And another thing that you said, since we're talking about relationship capital and growing relationships, one thing that I've discovered, if I just intently listen and strive my best to understand where they're coming from and not have that conversation going in my head about what I want to say next
Yeah.
and what I want to talk about, then they're going to sense that.
Yeah.
They're going to know that. And I mean, what drives me crazy, and I'm sure it does you too, and everybody that's listening here to the show, is you'll be talking with somebody in person, and you're at an event or whatever, and their eyes are over there, and their eyes are over there, and somebody walks in the door, and they're watching while you're talking to them, and you're going, man, you checked out on me before I even started. But when you are totally present and genuinely interested in them, you've set yourselves, I mean, you've set yourself, far beyond the crowd.
Yeah.
Um, so let me turn the coin on you, Kevin, and ask you, well, what are you all jazzed about right now and working on that you're so passionate about?
Well, you mentioned the podcast, Jay, and since launching that podcast 3 years ago, since launching the $1 Million Relationships podcast, it has been hands down the most rewarding and impactful thing that I have done. And so I am always looking for amazing entrepreneurs who are, or established entrepreneurs already making a big impact in the world through their business and who also place a very high value on relationships. I am always looking for great guests for the podcast and stuff. And I just love doing that because it is such a perfect way. I get to show up and give and contribute to others. And it just gives me such a beautiful way to get to know them in the process. And Jay, that's how you and I got to know each other. And through that, then you were like, well, Kev, why don't you come on my podcast? And here we are. And so just showing up, I mean, what a beautiful testament that is right there to the power of relationships. And so yeah, I just love talking with amazing entrepreneurs who are making such an impact in the world.
Well, chances are there are quite a few successful entrepreneurs that are listening to this podcast and show. And if they think they could really bring some value to your audience, how could they reach out to you to see if they would be a fit to be a guest?
Boy, that would just do my heart good. So, so what I would suggest to do, look up $1 Million Relationships podcast on either Apple or Spotify. Check out what we're doing. Make sure it resonates with you and stuff. And if it does, and you feel like you would be a great guest for the show, hit me up on Facebook. I am Kevin the Connector on Facebook, and just hit me up on Facebook. let me know that you heard of me through Jay and stuff, and that you checked out the podcast, and that you'd love to have a conversation and see if it makes sense to do an interview together. And I will totally make time to have that conversation with you.
And I thought I was going to get credit for naming you the connector, and there you are, Kevin the Connector already. For goodness sakes. Now, my last question before we wrap up, that the audience wants to know, what services are you offering right now that the audience might want to take advantage of if it's a fit for some folks?
So I host this thing called a virtual roundtable. I do not charge for it, and quite candidly, what it is, it's for the kind of entrepreneur that we have been talking about, and the whole purpose of a virtual roundtable is to facilitate introductions that lead to meaningful relationships that put money in the bank. And so when it's a small group event, I host them a couple times a month, and it's 3 or 4 entrepreneurs at a time, never more than 4. And I never tell you who else is going to be joining you, because I don't want you Googling and researching each other in advance. I don't want you coming with any preconceived ideas about who you're going to be meeting. I just want you to show up ready to serve, to help, to contribute, to pour into the other participants, and they're going to do the same exact thing for you. And when you get there, nobody knows each other. I mean, every once in a while, one person might know somebody else, but 99.9% of the time, nobody knows each other. And yet, 2.5 hours later, by the time we're done, every one of you are exchanging contact information. You're making plans to follow up with each other. You're referring business together. You're figuring out how you can collaborate together. And it happens every single time. And obviously, it takes a very special kind of person to participate in that. And like I said, you've got to show up the right way. You've got to be an already established entrepreneur. And but if that speaks to you, the first starting point, though, is we'll do a podcast interview, because we'll get to know each other and stuff. And from there, if it makes sense, I will totally extend an invite to one of those roundtables, because what that does as well for me is just kind of lets me get to know you even better and find out, can I make more valuable connections for you? Can I connect you? Am I in a position to connect you with more clients and more partners and more opportunities? So that's the roundtable.
Another example of a servant's heart. And the cool thing about that, Kevin, is, I don't know who came up with the phrase opposites attract. That's the most stupid thing I ever heard in my life. I want to hang around people that's like me,
Yeah.
But my guess is the people that you attract to these virtual events, all of them have servants' hearts, because you attract people in your life that are like you.
Yeah.
And of course, after you've had them on your show and they vetted out for that, then you know if they're going to be a fit or not. Thank you so much, Kevin. And one last time, the best way for people to connect with you again.
Yeah, go to Facebook. Find me there, Kevin the Connector on Facebook.
I love it. Kevin, thank you so much for joining me on the show, and God bless you.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Thank you. There you have it, my friend. Another amazing episode of Raising Private Money. We didn't talk specifically about raising private money today, but we did talk about raising relationship capital and nurturing relationships. And listen, you are one conversation away from making a huge impact. There is somebody in your influence, in your circle, that needs to hear this podcast. So I'm going to ask you, share this podcast with one person that you know that they would get an impact out of this. Be sure to like, share, comment, and if you happen to be watching on YouTube, be sure and click that bell. And if you happen to be watching on LinkedIn, I love to hear from my LinkedIn connections as well. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you right here on the next episode of Raising Private Money.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jayconner.com/money guide That's JCONNER.com/money guide and download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jconnor.com/money guide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Connor.